Check, check, 1, 2. Check, check, 1, 2. Hello, everybody. This day after the election, Wednesday, it is 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I have to keep reminding myself since we're no longer in daylight time over here. 8 o'clock over on the East Coast. And as I always do with these live streams, I want to check and make sure that technology is working with me. Oh, I don't even need to do that because there it is. Always nice when a plan works. So hopefully everybody's having a decent Wednesday, hanging in there. I understand, there's some fatigue going on with not only obviously the election is still not decided and everything else, but we're here to talk about music, talk to a fantastic artist that's I'm really totally stoked for. I haven't had a chance to do an actual one-on-one interview for about a week or a week and a half, so it feels like it's been a long time, even though that's really not a long time. My name is Mark Sugiyama from Eclectic Arts out here in Seattle, Washington, and I just want to mention that I do have a few things coming up. So today is, hey, Ed, good to see you. Hopefully you're doing well. Yeah, I'm hanging in there, man. So if you're on the road driving or if you're at home, I hope that you and your family are well. Thanks for checking things out via YouTube. I see your comment there. And yeah, I've got 2 things coming up on Friday. And at noon Friday, I have an interview with a wonderful band project from London right now. They're actually from LA, but they're in London now, called Corlix, and Caitlin Stokes will be joining me for that interview at noon on Friday. And then we have the Fun Table sessions starting on Friday at 6 p.m., not 7. This is all Pacific Standard Time. And I have 3 guests. It sounds like one guest is kind of on the fence because her schedule may have just changed. She was just actually messaging me about that today, but that's okay. We're still going to move forward with it. And then after that, everything's kind of up in the air because my schedule's kind of up in the air. So I have at least those 2 things, but let's kind of get here. And hey, Tony, nice to see you. Oh, you want a little inside secret? This background is actually the first one I used on the first leg of the Alice tour, but I kind of changed the lighting so it looks different. I don't have the means to get another background right now. So, but thank you for the comment. Good to see you, Tony, over on the East Coast. All right. My guest this evening is a powerhouse vocalist, guitarist, musician, and songwriter. When I first heard her voice, I was blown away. And that says a lot in terms of I've been into music since my first concert was in 1979. Please welcome to the Eclectic Arts Virtual Studio, Moriah Formica. Let me bring her in. Hi, Moriah.
Hey, Mark.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
You know what? I'm doing pretty good. Yeah, all things considered, I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah.
One thing that's made me super happy, which might seem strange to some people, is that I've been waiting for a new washer to show up, and it showed up today. The guys hooked it up, so I've done like 5 loads of laundry, and I'm super happy about having clean clothes.
No, I would totally be super excited about that, especially during this time. It's like it's the things like that are like, that make you go, yes, awesome.
Yep, no, you're absolutely right. I was actually there just listening to the sound of it going. Like,
yeah.
I love this sound. Clean my clothes. Oh my gosh! But yeah, you're right. It's those little silver linings wherever you can find them.
For sure.
They can mean so much. And but yeah, thank you so much for joining me. I can't wait to talk to you
about.
Thank you
for having me.
Yeah, about everything in your background. And for some people, they knew you from The Voice. I only know of that show. I actually have never watched it. So like I told you pre-show, I had come across one of your videos that I think was getting shared around through social media. Your cover of Barracuda back during was it March or April-ish? I want to say.
I think it was March. It was right when the quarantine started.
Okay.
So I think it was around March.
Okay, that sounds about right. And I just remember that. I watched it a few times. I was kind of like, is that voice really coming from her?
Thank you.
Yeah, it's such a powerful, mature sounding voice. And we talked also about this pre-show that, I've seen and heard a lot of people try to cover heart songs, and some of them do okay, and some of them don't. And you did more than okay. I mean, it's just, oh my gosh, it's like you're like an incarnate of Ann Wilson or something to a certain degree.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
No, thank you.
That's a huge compliment, because Ann Wilson is, she's a legend. She's amazing. So yeah, I'll take that compliment any day. Thank you.
No, thank you. And So can let's kind of go back to the beginning because I understand that you got into music pretty early. I'm guessing that you had maybe some classic rock playing around the house when you were a kid growing up, and that kind of influenced you.
Oh
So
yeah.
can you kind of speak to that, please?
Yeah, so my dad always had me around classic music. Um, Specifically 80s hair metal. And my dad would always have like the 80s pop-up videos, on Saturday mornings, or like the that metal show. And so I grew up around all those things, and um I don't know what it was, but I just fell in love with it. And I just specifically fell in love with the guys playing guitar. I fell in love with that. I don't know what it was about guitar. And my mother, actually, when I was a baby, um, and you have those little swings that you rock back and forth and you fall asleep. My mom would put headphones over my ears, and it would be like Flute by the Sea or Guitar by the Sea. And apparently that's the only way that I would fall asleep for hours and hours on end. So I guess from the time I was an infant, really, I loved music. Um, but when I really started to show an interest in getting into music and playing music it was definitely around 5 or 6 when I fell in love with Aerosmith.
Mhm.
Just from being around the music that my dad would always have playing. And yeah, the rest was history. I was like 5 or 6, and my grandmother, for like my 6th birthday, got me one of those $20 guitars from Target. And it has like the built-in amp, and you flick a switch on, it's battery operated. And
Uh-huh.
yeah, I took that guitar everywhere. I traveled with it, and I would just sit in my room, and I would just kind of noodle around on it, and not leave my room until I knew like one new Aerosmith song a day, because I just became obsessed.
Wow. Now, and do you have it's probably hard to say, but do you have like one of your favorite Aerosmith songs?
Oh wow. Oh wow. I I'm trying to think, because like there's so many eras of Aerosmith. Like
Mhm.
there's old Aerosmith, there's like 80s Aerosmith, 70s. But hmm, I guess the song that I really really loved when I was learning how to play guitar, the song that I guess the song I liked to play the most was probably Adam's Apple, off
Hmm?
of I think it was Toys in the Attic. I think that's what album it was off of. But I loved that song. I don't know what it was. I just loved playing it, and I loved the riff in it.
Okay. And so, as you were learning how to play guitar and learning a lot of Aerosmith songs when you're growing up, were you also singing with it, or is it strictly guitar?
um, I mean, I would fool around and just sing like little, quietly, but I wasn't really singing while it was guitar was my main focus up until actually like 9 or 10, and
Hmm.
then that's when I realized that I could sing. And because when you're a little kid like that, I wasn't thinking like, oh, this is what a good voice sounds like. Like I just didn't know. And I was such a quiet kid. Like I really didn't talk unless I was spoken to. And then even if I was spoken to, I hardly talked. And I, so let alone sing, I never sang anything. So nobody knew, until I was like 9 or 10 probably. And it was an accident.
Okay. So, who heard you when you're like 9 or 10 singing that said like, "Hey, you've got a really good voice"?
I was actually at my older cousin's. We were at my house, and it was her graduation party. She just graduated high school, and I was with one of my friends, and she was like, "Hey, you want to do karaoke?" And I was just like, sure, why not? So I pulled it up, and she's like, "Let's do Rolling in the Deep by Adele." And so I was like, okay. So I started singing it, and then the next thing I knew, like her dad came in the room, and then he's like, "You guys, you got to hear this. Do you know that your daughter can sing?" And at that point, I was just kind of like, "Okay," like And then everybody was in my room, and and then I guess I found out that I could sing that day.
Wow, it's always interesting talking to so many musical guests about
Hmm.
their early days and how they started, and every story is obviously different.
Right.
And like in your case, you weren't looking for it; someone just kind of
Right.
noticed, like, "Hey, you can really sing," and trying
Hmm.
to draw attention to it. So once that kind of happened, did you just continue singing on your own? Did you ever take lessons at any point?
Yeah, I actually almost right after that, that same year, I wanted to get serious about singing and stuff, and I had joined. I got singing lessons, and then I shortly after that, the same school. It's called Modern Day Music. It's a place where near where I live, uh, that teaches all sorts of instruments, and they have a little band program for the kids where they kind of just group the kids together according to age and music taste and stuff like that. And so I joined that program, and that's when I completely fell in love with singing and playing guitar and playing music with other people. I just fell in love with it. Um, but yeah, so I started taking singing lessons, and I actually still take lessons from that place to this day. Ever since I was 10 years old. So um, yeah.
That's cool. And I've talked to quite a few other professional musicians that who are in their 40s and 50s, and they still take lessons every now and then from
Right.
different style, or someone who's got a really great technique that they want to learn and incorporate into what they do as like a drummer, or a guitar player, or a singer.
Right.
And
Yeah,
so
it's just never ending, you can never learn too much about your craft. Like I always want to learn how to, be better and strengthen my voice and protect my voice. So it's a huge reason. So I say, I'm not surprised because it doesn't matter what age you are. I think it's great to have, a coach or even like think of it as a personal trainer, just somebody to help you kind of keep your instrument in check.
yeah, no, and you're absolutely right, because that's how that's your career basically. So
Right.
if you don't know how to take care of it, especially if you're looking at 20, 30 years down the road, you won't have a voice.
For sure.
You'll be playing nothing but guitar, wishing you could
Right.
still sing. Like, I remember back in 2020 when I couldn't do gigs, and now I wish I'd protected my voice better or something.
Right.
So no, that makes absolute sense. And so as you're going through and loving music and just couldn't get enough of it and wanted to keep pushing yourself forward, um, when did the idea for the voice audition come up? Did that come from a family member? Or did that come from you?
So when I was 16, uh the voice the voice actually has talent scouts that like scout people on the internet. Um which I didn't know at the time. And they they shot my I think it was my because they must have watched like a YouTube video or like a something on my social media, and I had my contact information, like my business contact information from my website, and they shot an email through there, and my dad was like, Mariah, you're never gonna believe this. You know that show The Voice? I was like, yeah. I was like, it's the one where like they spin around in chairs, right? And he's like, yeah. He's like, you know, one of the talent scouts from there just shot you an email and wants you to try out. And I thought he was kidding at first. I was like, Dad, it's not funny. Like, don't play with me like that. And he's like, No, I'm serious. And believe it or not, at first I was like, yeah, no, like I don't, because I was one of those like hardcore kids that was like, no, like shows like that, they hate rock and roll and they blah blah blah. So I was just being dramatic about it. And then I realized I was like, you know what? I'm 16 years old. How stupid would I be if I didn't take this opportunity? And this is what I want to do. Um, and so I just decided to do it, and it just kind of took off from there. And because the exposure is never ever gonna hurt, and in this case, it did the exact opposite. I mean, it kind of helped kickstart my career.
Yeah, I know. What's that famous quote from Gene Simmons of Kiss talking about any publicity is good publicity for
Right.
musicians? And it's
Oh,
kind of like,
totally.
yeah, especially in a show like that, which is seen around the world.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking back that you were saying, earlier that you're a really shy, quiet kid. So how was
Yeah.
this when you were trying to be on a show like that? When were like nerves getting to you, or did you kind of overcome that? How did that work out?
Oh yeah, I was very, very nervous. I'm talking like nervous, nervous. Like I could not like nervous to the point where like I don't even remember what it felt like the moment that I was on the stage because like I blacked out because of how nervous I was. So and it was like your body just takes control and you just do things out of muscle memory. But I don't know. I think it was just kind of like I knew that this was a once in a lifetime opportunity, and so I had to, no matter what, you know, somehow find a way to push the nerves down. And my mom was there with me, and so it really really helped out having her there. And I made some friends, and I actually met my best friend on that show. We're still best friends to this day. um so those were the things that kind of helped. And actually praying helped me too. So you know those are kind of the things that helped me not overcome the nerves, but just enough, to get through. Um, that experience really, really is the reason why I kind of broke out of my shell. Like would be, I just can't even imagine. I couldn't even imagine doing like interviews like this if I hadn't had that experience. So,
Yeah, yeah, no, I mean that's a really healthy perspective, and it's also
mm,
a mature perspective that, and when you look back on, you can think, yeah, that became like a launching point. Even if you didn't think it
right,
was at the time, it's kind of like who knows what was going to happen
right,
beyond that, and lots of great
right.
things have happened beyond it. So
Yeah.
no, that's awesome. I'm just kind of looking at some of the comments that are coming through about she never showed her nerves, your talent helped.
Sorry.
All these great things that people are saying about your time when you were on The Voice. So you had a lot of people in your corner for sure. Um, yeah. So, but with all of the music you've been putting out, I know you've been writing songs as well for sure.
Yeah.
What kind of, every songwriter is different, and so what kind of things, where do you have, what kind of space, headspace do you have to go into when you write your own original material?
Um, a desperate one. um, it's usually it's when I just feel really, really, um, really strong about something, which is not unusual for me because I'm just a really, really intense person. um, but usually it's when I feel like I have nowhere else to go and I have nobody else to talk to, and I need some sort of therapy to get it all out. And in a way, it's like it's just refreshing. And I think that it also is another element to hear them, to put that your feelings into music, because it's not just how you feel. It's now like, it's almost, to me, it's like how your heart sounds in that moment, if that makes any sense. I've always thought about it that way. And so that's the kind of space that I usually am in whenever I write songs, or whenever I start to write a song. Sometimes it's just I have a funky riff, or something that just pops up into my head out of nowhere, and then I just want to build off of it. But most of the time, whenever I write songs, it's because I'm having a really really hard time with something.
Well, thanks for sharing that. I think it's something that most artists can definitely relate to. I know for myself that
Right.
I actually wrote down, there's a piece of paper that's on my bedroom wall that says that when I'm not doing well, to grab my notebook, meaning that I need to start writing
Right.
stuff down, which in my head, I'm thinking, I don't want to write right now because I don't feel good. But
Right.
if I do, then the good stuff comes out. So
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
I think there's kind of this yin and yang, and pro and con when it comes to artists and creatives when it comes
Right.
to creating their material, that we have to put so much into it, and expose ourselves, and let people know
Right.
how you're feeling, and just like you said, it's like what's coming from your heart, and
Yeah.
getting that out, because that's when people start relating to it. I'm pretty positive that when people listen to your music, that's what they're connecting with. That's what's resonating with them. So it feels like, hey, she's speaking to me. I feel exactly the same way. I've been there, kind of a thing.
Right.
And that's awesome, because I know I was listening to Better Off Alone, the single that you released this year. And yeah, it was kind of like, there's such a maturity to what you do. I don't know any other way any other way to say it. And I know you mentioned that, and belated happy birthday, by the way, too, on Monday.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that, if someone told me that if I was just listening and didn't see you and said, yeah, guess how old this artist is, Mark, I never would have guessed it was, you were 19 or just turning 20 on Monday. I would have thought, well, that's got to be mid 30s, maybe early 40s, because there's such a nuance to your voice and how you approach everything. So that's why I'm kind of asking about the songwriting thing. Yeah, no, it's there's so much there for you to work with that I think other people would give their left leg to be able to do, which is actually a good segue, because I understand that you're working with a new group of band members. Is that something you can speak about?
Yeah, I decided to start an all-female band, actually, because I think that, what I was doing up until this point was, it worked for a while and I was happy. And then I kind of hit a point where it was like, okay, am I doing what I really, really want right now? And the answer was no. I always wanted to be a part of a real band, an actual, a band with a name, and that I wanted that brotherhood or sisterhood in this case. I wanted that, you know what I mean? I grew up loving bands and I wanted to be in one. There was something about playing music with other people that you connect with that was just so, I hate to be like cliche and cheesy, but magical, And that's just how I felt. And so I was like, you know what? Why not just start a band? And honestly, a band makes more sense for rock music, at least today, in my opinion. Back in the day, there was people like Joan Jett and Pat Benatar and but I feel like today, I feel like it works better if it's a group. That's just my opinion, or at least for me in my situation. And I was thinking, I was like, and I was talking to a whole bunch of people in the industry, and I was talking to my family and friends, and just getting people's opinions on things. And every single person goes, yes, all female band. I love that idea. Because I started thinking, and I'm like, I'm trying to think of female bands right now that are like mainstream and, that I've heard of or and that are just super straight up rock and roll. Jeans and a t-shirt, go up on stage with jeans and a t-shirt, plug in, and rip everybody's faces off. And I couldn't think of a lot or one that was mainstream, and I couldn't think of one that was within our age group. Like, I really wanted that, like, that young teenage rock band, that was all girls. I feel like it was really unique, and I feel like it was something that the youth needs today. Especially in my experience, there's something about a young female with a guitar on stage. There's something about that young kids seem to really love, at least whenever we play shows or, my friends that go on stage. It's like kids really do like rock. They just have to be fed that. That's not what they're being fed. They're being fed the opposite. And I think that there's just such a yearning right now for something real in this generation. And I want to be that. So that's kind of how that band idea came together. And then at the same time, I just happened to meet Brooke Colucci, who I did Barracuda with. And then I was like, you know what? This isn't just a coincidence. The stars aligned perfectly. I had just met her. I just had the idea for a female band. And it turned out she only lived like 45 minutes away from me. So it just all fell into place, it was perfect.
Wow. No, everything you said makes sense. That there isn't really not only just a role model for rock and roll for young young folks, but also an all-female version, and not that, sugar-coated pop influence. We're talking about, like you said, jeans and t-shirt rock and roll that you want to do. And once people kind of understand that there's this other type of music out there, especially for young folks, and that also from a business side, that's a really smart move too, because there really isn't. As you were saying that, I was thinking here, like, can I think of any kind of like female, all female rock band? I can only think of some bands that have females in them, not all members, especially when it comes to like straight out, again, like 70s, 80s kind of rock and roll stuff. I can't really think of anything off the top of my head. So it makes perfect sense. And I see somebody was asking about, so have you guys have you done any kind of recordings of demos or actual tracks or covers or?
We have recorded some songs, and we're still in the baby stages of the band. We got to put together the whole package. Because, I'm sure it's you can't just be like, okay, I'm in a band, and then just start doing things without a plan, I mean, you can, but it wouldn't be smart.
Right.
So, yeah, but, we're going to get some music out pretty soon, hopefully. Definitely within the year, I think so. Don't take my word on that, but I think so. So just be on the lookout. But we have recorded some songs, yes, and we're excited for everybody to hear them.
Yeah, no, I'm super excited. When I found out that you've been working with this all-female band idea, I was like, oh, she's. I almost cussed right there, which I guess is okay. But I was like, yeah, that got me really excited. So I can't wait to hear something from this group. And like we were talking about pre-show, that during this time, it's like, well, you can't really do anything live for the most part, especially now in the fall in the U.S. So it's like, let's put my energy towards something else. And the beauty of the internet and technology allows you can exchange ideas and things back and forth with your bandmates and such. Even if you're just working on some new stuff, you don't have to be stagnant where you're like, well, I can't wait till we meet in person. It's like, well, no, you can just do it, through technology. And then once we get together, you have something already there ready to go. So
right.
Yeah. So people are saying Burning Witches, Jack Off Jill. Yeah, I remember them from the 90s. But yeah, in terms of like checking all the boxes.
I actually have heard of Burning Witches. They're from where are they from? Like Sweden or something?
Yeah, they're somewhere over. I want to say somewhere in Europe, because I've heard of them too. But I'm not really familiar with their music. But when I think of you, I think of I'm thinking like this is going to be like the early 20-somethings doing Aerosmith or doing the stripped down, like maybe even do it analog for all I know in terms of the recording. To give it that warmth that is just missing from pretty much everything these days.
Right. And I also really wanted to be a band that was fresh in terms of like, and this is just me. I'm not trying to diss anyone. I don't play that. I respect everyone in their craft, and I think that everybody has something special about them, in the music world. But me personally, I'm so sick of that, cliche rock look. I'm just so sick of that. So I wanted to kind of put together a band of all females that just completely rip the stage up, but we don't necessarily have to be wearing leather jackets and spikes and dark eyeliner and all this stuff and huge hair. And I mean, I have big hair, but that's beyond the point. I can't help that. That's my natural hair. But, all these things to be taken seriously as a rock band. I don't know. I'm just a really, I don't know. That's just me personally. So that was kind of another idea that I had too. I guess I liked the fact that, the other girls and I have different looks. We don't it's not like the kind of cliche rocker thing, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, you're trying to be trying to be you. You're trying to be organic, trying to be something that is like naturally an extension of you instead of some sort of product.
Right, exactly. And it's like if that's you, I don't like that's awesome. I think people, I think girls that go up the stage with leather and black makeup and all, I think that's cool if that's authentically you. But I have seen a lot of people where it just doesn't feel genuine, and it just frustrates me. That's all. Because I know that there are a lot of people that are really genuine in their craft and would kill for people to see themselves as they truly are and would never put on like a mask or a show, if you will,
Yeah, no, I hear you for sure. And wow, it's already been 30 minutes. That was kind of the limit that your
Oh
folks were
wow.
letting me know. But before we
Mm.
go, I wanted to ask you one last question. So, what kind of advice would you give an aspiring musician out there?
um I would say, first of all, I mean, this is really cliche, and I know a lot of people say it, but I believe, because it's true, is one of the biggest things that I learned in my experience so far, and I still have so much to experience, is to trust your gut. Um, every single time that I have felt something in the pit of my stomach, but I was being pushed to do it because it was a good idea or whatever, it's always turned out bad. Always. Um, so far. Um, and any time that I've trusted my gut, it's always turned out good. you know? And I just think that that is one of the biggest things. Because the second that you start listening to what everybody else says, I think it's very easy to lose sight of what you're trying to do and, who you are and who you want to show people that you are. Um, and the less genuine you become. The other thing is, I would say, just it's a lot of perseverance, there's going to be a lot of discouragement, a lot. Um, People are going to say no. People are going to tell you you suck. People are going to tell you, you know, stuff like that. But you can't listen to that. And some days you're going to get up and like have a gig or an appearance or whatever, and you're going to be like, wow, I cannot even move my body. My whole body hurts. How am I going to go play this show right now? But you have to. You can't just be like, oh, I can't play the show because I don't feel good. You know, that's not what the people want to hear. And so you got to learn how to, when you're feeling like that, find a place where you can just pull it out of you, the strength. So I guess oh, and last thing, be open to constructive criticism. It really, really does help. It's helped shape me so far, who I am and stuff, is taking into account what other people have to say.
Oh yeah,
So those are the things that I would say.
wonderful advice. Every point that you made, and Mariah, thank you so much for taking the time today. I could have talked to you for
Yeah,
another
thank
half an hour
you.
easy. maybe
Thank
maybe we'll
you.
maybe we'll kind of do another one down the road when things are kind of there's maybe more news to talk about with the band and everything else that's
Yeah.
going on. But yeah, again,
Yeah, I'm
thank you
so
for
down for
taking.
that.
Awesome, thank you for taking the time. Stay safe over there and on the East Coast.
You
And
too.
yeah, thank you. Hopefully, get a chance to talk to you somewhere down the road.
For sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
Bye bye.